Hello and welcome to the show. We are here today on BeamNG Drive with some more vehicles tackling the Proving Ground circuit. We start with something very silly. Well, I say very silly. The Bluebuck is a fairly sensible vehicle. However, the version that we have here is not. Now, this is the Lowrider. The thing is, I can raise the suspension if I want, which is what I have done. It's not going to be scraping the floor here. We've got it. This is as high as it will go, which in theory should be good until it breaks, and then it'll be very bad. But I don't know how strong it is. At the end of the day, I have no idea how strong the suspension is. The wheels are tiny, and this is a big car. I don't really know what's going to happen with this, which is why we're running it. It could be really good. It's not a very fast spec of car. I guess the Lowrider's not really designed for speed, is it? It's looking bad, actually, after that first one. What is the suspension going to be like? It should be strong. The cars are designed to bounce around a bit. You know, they're supposed to be able to bounce around on the suspension, but what we're asking it to do here is way more destructive than just, you know, bouncing around in a car park or whatever. We'll see. I fear we're just going to have a wheel ripped off of it when it goes over a bump somewhere, like shallow grave, possibly over the checkerboard, that sort of stuff. I could be wrong, though. It could bend and just be incredibly strong. We will find out as we go around. Radiator should be well protected. You know, it's very, very high up. It's unlikely to hit the ground often. Drive shaft should be better protected to an extent. How the forces are going to go through on the landing of the big jumps is anyone's guess at the moment. The sort of Lowrider suspension is going to take the brunt of it, but yeah, if it gets too much forward, I don't know what's going to happen. It's going to be fun. We will not be going underneath the spinners, that's for sure. If we put it all the way down, you probably could get away with it. Maybe. You might take the roof off, but we're not going to have that luxury here. It's also sparks come off, which makes you wonder what on earth clipped the speed bumps. A bit of suspension, I would presume. Don't know. Right, here we go. Up towards the jump. So this is the one that's it's what is going to happen on the landing here to the car. Oh, it's a big hit. The front wheel is poorly. Okay. It's not come off. It is still connected, but I mean, it's got a lot of camber now. It still works. As long as we don't... If we lose a wheel, we're in all sorts of pain. The whole thing is going to be at silly angles, and yeah, sometimes you can get away with driving on three wheels. I don't know with this. Certainly we lost a front wheel. I don't know if it's going to work. Okay, I'd rather that actually land on the bumper than land on the wheels at this moment in time. I don't want it landing on the wheels any more than it has to, because it's only been one lap and that front wheel is almost all the way fallen over. That's a concern, really. That is the side that does generally take more punishment. It's not normally... Well, I mean, the shafted jump depends on what side it lands on, basically. It's not normally a shafted jump that does the worst to that corner in particular, but it is one of the tougher jumps around here. Oh. Okay, we land that one a bit more level. It kind of shakes the car a bit. We're going to complete the first lap. Good news for this. Radiator's in one piece. Outside of that one front corner, the rest of the car is not too bad shape. It's not great, but it's not too bad a shape. It could be a lot worse, and it probably will get worse, let's face it. Oh, that gets chucked. So the other downside that we are getting with this car is bouncy suspension. It's going to launch it around. Now, we're not that fast, so we kind of get away with it a little bit. But if it does start getting broken and the like, as we take these jumps, as we launch off these jumps, the back end's going to ping around because it's also kind of soft and movable, I guess is the best way to describe it. Yeah, there are problems, a lot of them, but we'll figure it out. It doesn't turn to the left very... It turns to the left very well, but it does. It's just not very controlled because that wheel, the loaded wheel, gets all sorts of weird amounts of grip. Okay, we've still got the handling to get through the spinners. A relative good pace for a big car like this. That's helpful, because I mean, if this goes into the spinners, it's dead. I don't think there's any way this gets out of... It doesn't survive a hit of the spinners in a good way. This is the scary bit. Here we go. Bluebuck, can you make it up here without... It doesn't really go in a straight line very well anymore, funnily enough. Please don't twist that. Okay, that's actually pretty good as far as landings go. It landed more kind of level, landed more equally across the front end. That's the difficulty we get, is because of the way that wheel is buckled. I'm constantly fighting the car. I'm constantly trying to steer and trying to get it off a ramp straight is very difficult because it's not really designed for dirt at all, let alone what we're doing here. So we'll, yeah, try and get it off these jumps as straight as possible, but it's not always going to work, especially if the car's pulling around. That's not the sort of thing we want. There, shook all the way through the car, but it's still going, you know, still going fairly strong. Like this lap, it's not got any worse, although the temperature is starting to alarm me a little bit. This hasn't had a punctured radiator yet. The temperature is climbing. Now, it's possible the spec of car just doesn't have a very good radiator, and of course, the rules for this, the car's got to be driven fast. They're going to be driven hard around here, not saying fast. They're going to be driven as fast as they can be, which is different for different cars. And this being pushed hard maybe is more than the engine the radiator can deal with. The shallow grave will potentially help with this. Oh! There goes a wheel! We have lost an wheel. I wondered when it might happen. We are going to have issues. Well, we're going to have issues getting to the spinners. If we make it to the spinners, we're definitely going to have problems. Well, we do still drive, though. And that's going to mean if all the landings now come down on that front corner, we're fine. Because it can't really get much worse. But we're going to have trouble getting into the spinners. Yeah. What do we do? What do we do with this car? We can maybe get through shallow grave, so we're going to need this to cool the car. Okay, the front doesn't get caught. This is where we're going to have problems. Now, if I can get the front end up, got to keep the front end up in the air, basically, which means not turning. Oh, no, actually, considering that's lost a wheel, yes, it's hitting on the kind of chassis rail, I guess. Considering it's lost a wheel, though, that's not too bad. It's what's about to happen that worries me greatly for the... say lowrider. Yeah, hydraulic powered suspension. Come on, car. Can we make... So I'm you know, well aware of the handling issues. Because we don't have to be crazy fast through here. Nothing can ever really be that fast through here. But we do have to be able to make it through the turn. And we can just. Okay. I mean, that's good. We make it through. We've still got enough speed to not fall foul of the crawler rule, whereby the car can't exceed 20 miles an hour in a sensible amount of time. It is counted out. This is capable. We're going to have potential issues with the jump here because the diff is no good. With one tyre fires the whole way down. Here we go. Up towards the jump. It's going to hit. It's not going to be going very fast, but it's not going to land nicely for the vehicle. We have got more suspension damage on the rear corner. The diff might actually be what lets it down, because if we keep braking one side of the car, we're going to end up having a point where the one driven wheel is just spinning around in the air, and that's not good. Nobody wants that. Definitely not if we're going to be trying to make progress. So we're still fine from the crawler rule at the moment. It's really struggling to get up this hill. I think, this might actually blow the engine up, because we've got to work it so hard when it's wasting all of its time with the wheel spinning. That would be a problem. The thing I didn't really think about with the radiator, as far as survival goes, the radiator itself might survive, but it doesn't get any cooling from the water, or doesn't get much because it's so high up. Possibly, although now it's a lot lower down. We'll have to wait and see. Things are not good at the back of the car. I don't know how much is bodywork and how much is actual suspension damage and how it's twisted, but it's definitely sitting a lot lower on one side than the other. I think we're going to overheat, though. Just try to get it around. Come on, car, get back on the road. It's still just about making speed requirements, and it's still just about drivable enough. Oh, okay, we're at either side of the speed bump. That's not too bad. Engine torque reduced. I think this is heading towards the death of the engine at this point. We're at 30 miles an hour, and we are struggling to accelerate much more away from that. Can it make it to the water and get a little reprieve? I don't think so. There's steam and smoke billowing out of everywhere on the engine here. It's unhealthy, it's struggling, it is dying. It's now still technically going fast enough to keep going, but it's about 30 miles an hour is all the car has got to give, and it is now dying. I think we've got some acceleration as we go downhill. We'll go into the water, we're out the other side, we don't get caught on the speed bump, on the rock, sorry. Now into the checkerboard. Rod bearings are damaged. Yeah, there's no cooling done from that water. It's just not gonna happen. It is still limping its way around. I think that's the end of the engine. I'm full throttle and it's gone. The engine has overheated and died. I'm amazed it was overheating that killed it. It drove around on one wheel for a while. The problem was when it lost that wheel, trying to run with the back of the car wiggling around in the air, you just have to work it so hard to get any sort of movement out of it. The engine couldn't cope. The engine just couldn't cope with all of that. And that is the death of the Lowrider. It's not bad, all things considered. Not a terrible showing for the car. But, yeah. That is a very dead Bluebuck. Up next, we have got the Moose, I think. I don't know how to pronounce it. I'm going to call it the Moose, though. This is a Cherrier, a sort of spec of Cherrier has been turned into a saloon car, which is kind of interesting, sort of a much more modern saloon car than a lot of the other kind of vehicles I guess you get in this game. And I've got the electric one. We're going for the electric one. Now we have tried with an electric version of this car. I think it was the Touareg or something, but it had issues with the suspension, which has I think since been fixed in the game. Now I turn off all the ESG, all the electric stuff, because with cars getting damaged, if you have that on, it can sometimes cause some real issues for the game. It doesn't know, it can't put any power down. I've had cars that have been kind of broken lightly, and it's just kind of freaked out and just stops them being able to put any power down. So that's why it's always turned off. Regardless, this is theoretically going to be better than that. Electric, so it's not going to be overheating whatsoever. That's not a problem. It is still front-wheel drive. That's a concern. The front takes a lot of damage in this series because, well, that tends to be what hits the ground first on the big jumps. And the front wheels are doing everything in here. They're doing all the driving, they're doing all the steering, a lot of the braking. Not that the braking is a big concern in this series, really. Oh, we're going to bounce and bounce and bounce and bounce a little bit more. Yep. I don't know what we're going to see from this. In theory, it depends on how the electric's set up in this car. It might be a case we lose a front wheel, we aren't completely out, because it might have individual motors in each side. That is helpful. We don't have the same diff problems that you'd get with a normal petrol version. But that sort of stuff, I don't know. We may be surprised, but we may have to go for a little bit of a... Ooh, okay, back end got bouncy. Get that back under control. This is going to be a big hit on the nose. We don't have to worry about the radiator, though, so it's fine, that sort of hit. Not worrying about the radiator because there's none. I know in reality batteries and stuff can still overheat, but that's not something that's simulated in Beam as far as I'm aware of anyway. We might have a little problem with the bumper. It's in an awkward place. So I'm allowed to pause and free debris from a car if it gets stuck. The problem is if I try and pull that bumper out, it's actually going to rip the wheel apart. So it might be restricting the wheel a little bit, but it's actually the lesser of two evils currently. I'm hoping over a couple of jumps it's going to fall free. I don't think it's not doing too much. It's not the worst thing. There he goes. It's off. And that's why I don't always immediately stop and pull the bumper out, because if it can free itself, that's much better. That has just given us some camber on the rear of the car. Ooh! There's actually a slight risk involved in that. There's an instinct part kicks in there when the car starts rolling to put it back down onto its wheels, which we did. The issue that you have is when you're steering and the car's like that, you run the risk of actually snapping a wheel off because so much weight is being put on one side, and you turn the wheel, you get some sort of lock going on, and it can snap the wheel. But there's an instinct to grab the steering to straighten the car up from rolling over. We got away with it at the end of the day. The handling is not great anymore on this. We've made it around a lap for the car. We've got camber on the back of the car. We've got some damage at the front. Nothing major. Oh, we don't turn in there at all. There was just no steering. We booped the rock a little bit. It was thankfully quite low speed, so I don't think it's going to have done much damage to the car. But yeah, that is not a fun experience. You have to be really careful there. We've had cars, let's say aquaplane, I don't quite know what it is. We've had cars kind of skate wide where you've gone in there before, but never quite to that extent. There's some debris on the Toblerones. We don't want to hit that, because we don't want that getting chewed under the front bumper. Or chewed in the front wheels, I should say. We haven't got any front bumper anymore. That's somewhere around the back part of the course. But like bumpers, they're inconsequential. They can sometimes take a little bit of damage for you, like deflect damage away from a radiator for a lap or two. That's not a problem with this one. here we go, up towards the big jump once again. Ooh, the back moves around something horrible over these. He's done it again there. Oh, there's a lot of damage is being focused on the front left. In fact, I think we've lost the other side of the rear suspension as well. You can see the rear wheels are hopping about. It's like part of it's disconnected now. I wonder if it's lost like either a lower or an upper support. Definitely, okay, the right hand side is way worse. It's got no structural rigidity on that one, so it's just flapping about in the breeze across every bump. Front left tyre has gone down. That's a weird place to get a puncture. But the front left tyre has gone down. My bigger concerns are the... Well, I mean, I'd say the bigger concerns are the rear. If we lose the rear of the rear wheels, it doesn't actually make any difference in this car. Oh, there's bumps down there as well. Yeah, if the rear wheels fall off, I mean, it will make differences as far as the car will be dragging its arse along the floor, and that's not going to be ideal. Oh, we've got big problems now with the car. Big steering related problems as well. Is the front left gone? Front left is gone. Yes, front left is gone. We've got no steering on the front left. Unfortunately, we still have drive on the front left, so we're fighting against our own wheel at this point. That's not good. That's also bad. We're going to go for a spin. Oh! Bad things have gone on with the back of the car. Can I actually save this? We may have a problem here. We're going to spin it around. With the way we've got the wheel damage, can we still drive? Yes. Just. So we've got literally all suspensions gone at the back. Certainly the back right-hand side has lost all suspension. Steering is knackered. It's still good to go. Oh, this is not going to go well for the car here. Now, so I'm allowed to grab reverse in an instance of like this where I'm recovering the car. I'm not allowed to grab reverse to make it around a corner. If we get to a point where we can't make it around a corner, we have to grab reverse. That is the car counted out. We are playing flappy wheels at the moment. With the back, it actually has got slightly better steering in all of this braking. I don't quite know how we've ended up with this. We're still fast enough here. It's not going to get counted out at the moment. I really want wheels to fall off. I'd actually rather the wheels that are currently broken fall off the car, because then they stop fighting against me. Definitely the front wheel. The rear wheel I could live with like that if we had front wheels working properly. But yeah, if I lost the front wheel, I would not be unhappy at this point. It's serving no purpose other than to hinder us, pretty much. So the good news is, okay, so the reason why it's doing better is it's a little bit locked in place there. We can hopefully still make this corner. We may have issues with the spinner. The issue, the difficulty we get with a spinner is, so you can see how the wheel is snapping around randomly as it's getting drive and getting traction and it's flapping about being broken. If that snaps away from the direction I want it to be going in the middle of the spinner, even though we're going slowly, because of the lack of control I've got in general in this, we could just be stuck. We could be in a really awkward place. So yeah, we've got to try and get this through here, get the change of direction. It didn't snap the wrong way. It almost did on the exit, but we're through the spinner in one piece. We are around the carousel now. The rear wheel is behaving itself back there, for now. It won't be on the landing of the jump that's coming up here. I don't know what it's going to do there. It is a concern. Have we still got speed? Yeah, we've still got enough momentum, or mostly up here. Come on, Moosey car! Don't land on that. Don't land on the good side at the front. We are upside down now. We're allowed to get the node grabber and flick the car over. No oil starvation or anything like that to worry about in this. Although I think steering's gone. We have got, I mean, you can see I am wiggling the steering, but there is no steering left in the car. We can maybe shuffle it along the wall a little bit. We've lost the steering, and that is the end of that. It put on a good show. Actually, really, really spectacular rear failure on this car. Just the whole rear corner snapped off of it. But that is a death. That is a death right there. As I said, not a bad run. Not a bad run at all for the car, but suspension just could not survive the demands of the proving grounds. The final vehicle to run through the course today is the Superlight. Is it called Blackpool Superlight? And I've got the Baja spec for this. Okay, it's a little bit of a silly spec, of course. It's a Caterham on massive tyres and a lot more ground clearance. In theory, in theory, it could be quite good. It should be better than the normal ones. I do have a couple of concerns, though, with it. I don't know how strong the suspension is that goes with these big tyres, whether it is mostly just wheels and ride height that have gone into making this more off-roady spec, or how reinforced it may be. That's concern one. Concern two is if this rolls, the wheels are very, very, very exposed. They will probably ping off. So we don't really want it to roll. In theory, it should survive the demands of this course if everything is going smoothly quite well. But whether it's not going to stay going smoothly, that's the point of the proving grounds. It's never going to be, you know, a pristine, smooth run. Things are going to go wrong for the car. We're going to bounce and bounce and bounce. We are across the Toblerones quite nicely. Oh, it's very oversteery as well if you get it wrong. I would also be concerned about sliding it across the checkerboard, or any speed bump if we get sideways I think could tear the wheels off. It does depend on how strong the wheel axles are, and that is a thing I don't know. I remember them being quite weak on previous other specs of this car, but whether the Baja spec has been beefed up or not, I don't know. Oh, we're losing control across there. That's a concern. Okay, nicely does it for the landing on our first time of asking. We are not last place, basically, on the leaderboard. If we land that jump, we're not last place on the leaderboard. I mean, like, it doesn't really feel like it's had any damage around this lap. I think this might be the classic case of, we see it with the rally car sometimes as well, where they survive great, and then one hit. One hit. It's not that they're not strong, but they have one big hit, and that breaks something critical, really. It's easy to get into that. Oh, especially with a very oversteery car. Suspension seems to be holding up well on this opening lap. Doesn't seem to be buckled, doesn't seem to be... We don't seem to have any camber going on the wheels. Nothing seems to be snapped or hanging at awkward angles. Oh, that's a big hit on the ground. But we gather it all back up again. Yeah, it's, as soon as it hits the landing, it's spinning around. We are across the speed bumps. That's good. You don't want to land on the landing on that bump is very awkward. You don't really want to be doing that. Across the speed bumps at full speed. Yeah, that's pretty good. Try and keep it flat and level in the air. We do. Nicely does it. I'm not really able, I mean, you'll see I'm not really able to get to full throttle, but the reason why, as I mentioned, cars have to be driven hard around here. Yes, but I have to be in control of them, and this thing here is very snappy oversteery, so I just don't trust going to full throttle very often around here, because it just does that. It just wants to spin the wheels up quite a lot, so we've got to be a little careful. Across the checkerboard, no problem. I mean, that might be the cleanest a car has ever finished lap 1 in terms of damage. It didn't really take anything. As I said, the concern is when it does take damage, because it's going to around here, what's going to happen, what's going to be the damage, and if we start having real control issues, I mean, this is difficult to drive at as it is. It's not easy to get around this course. If we have real control issues, it's going to be amplified by this, and I worry a lot about the wheels. I think the radiator can go in this car, but it's... I don't think I'm ever worried about overheating with this, because something else is generally broken before then. Oh, it does not fly flat and level through there very nicely. That one there, that's good! Problems! Problems have gone with the rear left. The rear left's gone. It hit that and it's collapsed. Well, we've got 3 wheels on the ground. They're all attached to the car, but only 3 of them can be on the ground at one point. I mean, if we bend the other corner down, I guess that would... Oh, that would just scrape his arse on the floor. Oh! Rear left wheel is gone. Do we still have drive? I don't know what sort of diff it has. It's fallen over. We are going to have to try and rescue this car. Does it have drive? That is the car. I'd hope a Baja car would. I mean, it's got to get to 20 miles an hour if it wants to continue. It's definitely only driving on one wheel at the moment. It has got to 20, but it's going to blow its engine up doing this. Okay, well, it is accelerating away. It's got some drive. I don't know what sort of diff this thing has then. It's weird that it's letting it do something, but it's very poor. It's just awful noises going on in this car. It's fired across these. I mean, it's now killed itself at a point where it's quite slow, although it's also going to land these jumps really awkwardly, so that may also break the other side. We're up to 40 miles an hour. Oh god, and it clonks down onto the ground. Come on, car. Get some momentum up through here. Here we go. Ooh, that's quite nasty. The wheel, one good wheel is at a funny... Is it taking some angle? It's difficult to tell if it's taking some damage or whether it's something else on it, really. I mean, we're still travelling a lot, 45 miles an hour. It sounds like we're going much faster, of course. Oh, dear. And around we go. Now, while, yes, it is able to carry on, however, this diff might stop it from climbing up a hill. So it is clear the vehicle is capable of getting past the 20 mile an hour mark. Okay, we know that. But if it cannot get through the rocks, if it can't climb up the hill, that is going to be it counted out. Regardless, yeah, I think this is going to get counted out because it's across the rocks. Can it get up the hill? Will it have the drive to make it up the hill? Now, this is the not steep hill. The hill that's going to get it is around the back end of the circuit. I'm trying to get something to give it some drive. We are up the hill. Okay, we're still going along here. I guess the engine's being cooled. That's something. It sounds all manners of awful at the moment. Come on, clear that 20 miles an hour, and it is back up to that. Yeah, I'm worried about the back end of the circuit. So, with the way this car is currently broken, we're not going to be going fast enough to clear the kind of dirt jump heading up towards Shafted, and we may well spin, which means we're going to have to set off from a standstill towards a very steep hill that... Ooh! I think we might be dead anyway. I don't think it's going to matter about Shafted. Yeah, it's not going to matter. It was rocking around on the broken suspension, and I went to turn it and just nope. Ow! Somehow that axle's not broken, but it doesn't matter because the wheel's not touching the floor. It can crawl along, but that's not really driving, is it? It's not even going to be able to make it up that hill anyway, so... That, I believe, is the end of the Superlight. Yeah, the suspension, once it went one-wheel drive, was not really working. But suspension damage, making it very difficult to steer, making it very unpredictable going into the spinners is also a problem. And you've got to keep momentum up, because if I don't, we get stuck out here trying to get around that banking. So we had to keep momentum up, and that was it. That's the end of the Baja Superlight. It's good fun. Good fun, but does not survive very well. On to the leaderboard. It's not a bad showing, actually, from the Lowrider. It goes into a 24th place. Ignore some of the actual miles distance. They are not perfectly accurate, shall we say. Apparently all sorts of wonky went on today. Within the Bluebucks, though, was fairly accurate here. Yeah, 24th place. Beats the Roth Alpha, beats the Covert V6R4. Can't quite beat the four-door Moonhawk, but... for a car with very funky suspension and all sorts of weird things to possibly go on with it, yeah, did do pretty well. We have to go a little bit further down to find the other vehicles today. The Moose, that goes into 39th place. Again, not terrible show from that car. Some interesting suspension failure occurred on that, but in the end the steering died on a heavy landing. We then find the Superlight Baja in 43rd position. Suspension at the back was doing all sorts of broken things. I got caught out actually by, when I went back and looked at the footage, kind of the shifting of the weight just caught me out trying to take it through the spinners, and that's what put it into trouble. And yeah, a big clonk from one of them when the car was already pretty close to death isn't going to do it that much good. But still, 43rd is not bad in this leaderboard. That, though, is going to be it from me. As ever, I shall link all the mods used in the description, so you can download them and have a go with them yourself. But that shall be it for today. Thank you all very much for watching, and until next time, a goodbye.